Hi everyone, Laurel here, and today I'm here with some different techniques using some miracle blending brushes. These are different from the life-changing blending brushes, I think they're called. These are makeup brushes I got off of Amazon, and they look very similar as far as the picture that I've seen, but I have no way of knowing if they're exactly the same or not, as I don't have the life-changing brushes. I have these. And I remember when I got these, I did a YouTube live, I'll link to it above right here, because I didn't know what to do with them. I wasn't having success. I knew it was operator error, so I got some feedback and played with them, and I really like them now. They come in a bunch of different sizes. You can get these packs. I really love the larger sizes. This is the absolute largest size they have, and these are very fine bristles. To clean them, I just run them under some warm water, and I use some very mild soap to get the ink off the brushes. That's how I do it. I find that just scribbling off on some paper isn't going to remove the ink. So, and you'll see that here in this video actually. So again, these are things I purchased off of Amazon in the packs. I'll be sure to link below in the description the ones I got. I'm very impressed with them now that I know how to use them. So let's get into some techniques. The first thing I want to show you is I was able to do a little watercoloring with them. So I went ahead and put some ink on the brush with the ink pad, and then I sprayed it with some water. Now I'm just quickly swiping it across. This is watercolor cardstock. Anytime I use water, I'm using watercolor cardstock. And I'm just swiping it across, as you can see, and then I instantly have a beautiful ink blended background just by picking up some ink with the brush and spraying the brush with some water. I mean, it's beautiful, effortless, took no time at all, I tell ya. So here's a look at that one. I just think it's so pretty. So you can make your own custom colored cardstock with these brushes. For this one, I'm grabbing some Lucky Clover Distress Oxide, picking it up on the brush, kind of rubbing a little bit of it off on my gloss mat, and then I'm going ahead and swiping it on. So this is a way to get a very subtle, light background, no adding water. This is regular cardstock now, but you can get a similar look than as the one I just did a minute ago with the water by doing it this way as well. So if you don't want to use, I know watercolor cardstock is a lot more expensive than regular cardstock. So this is another way, to get a beautiful, soft, blended background with these brushes. Now, again, I'm using one of the larger ones. I'm holding it at the base. I think when I first started playing, I was holding it really high, and that wasn't working for me. Here's another way you can blend. You can go in some circular motions like I'm doing here, and this is going to provide more of a deeper blended look because I'm actually applying a lot more ink. You can see I'm taking my finger, and I'm just holding the brush at the base, if you will. So I have a lot more control over it, I find. I'm still working off the paper on, as you can see, but this is some circular motions here. So I was able to get more ink on the paper. So you can kind of, get two different looks. You can go light, you can go a little more heavy-handed and get more ink. Of course, you can add a whole bunch of different colors if you want. But here's a look at just kind of swiping back and forth on the left and then going in some circular motions there on that card to the right. So you can see the difference and the intensity of the same exact color ink. Now I'm going to pull one of those smaller brushes that came in the pack, and I'm just going to have a little fun. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up that same color, and I'm just going to start swiping on ink. Sometimes you might want to create a beautiful sunset background or a beautiful ink blended background, and it's fun to get little swiped looks on here. So I saw that you can do that with this ink pad, but then I thought, let me spray some water on here and see what kind of look I get. And oh, I did love this. Ooh, kind of moving it around. I still am using that same Distress Oxide color, and I'm just moving that ink around and creating some beautiful, like, strokes, if you will. I can even it out by going back over all of the ink that I'm kind of moving. Basically, I'm just really moving some ink around here because that brush is wet. And I love that, like, streaked background. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? Simple, easy to do. Just adding a little water to that brush. So here is some water, again, adding it on a clean brush. I didn't want too much water, so I did scribble some of it, off on the mat. So here I am picking up the Picked Raspberry Distress Oxide, and check this out. This is just a damp brush and some Distress Oxide. I mean, and again, I am using watercolored cardstock. Just assume that anytime I'm using a lot of water, I'm using that watercolor cardstock. So anyway, I love the look that you get here. If it starts to dry out, just add a little bit more water, and look, you just start blending it away. You can create a beautiful ombre background with one color by doing this as well. So when you use water with these brushes, it's like you're entering a whole new world. It's true. It's so true. So here's a look at that background. Just so you can sit I created like 50 backgrounds while I was doing some filming here. So this is a background that already had a little bit of ink blending on it. I didn't like it. It was quite streaky. So at this point, I thought I'd do the same thing. I just pick up some of that purple wilted violet oxide. I sprayed it, and now I'm creating these little like wavy motions, if you will. So I created a background I didn't like, and now I'm fixing it by doing this, right? So again, it's just like adding a little bit of water, just as like magic. So I fixed this background. I mean, this would be a beautiful wave background if you chose the right colors. You know what I'm saying? You can make a beautiful ocean background, but here's this one. So pretty. So that background was the Lucky Clover, and the purple I put down was Wilted Violet. Now I'm going in with my Cutterpillar ink. This is an ink I use almost all the time. And I'm doing the same thing. I wanted to see if it would work good with her ink as well, because the Distress Oxide is, you know, a different formulation. It's a hybrid and pigment blend, and here I am using just the Catherine inks, and I love it. I'm going to go in with two different colors. Same thing. I pick up the ink with a brush. I spray the brush with some water. I scribble a little bit off onto my glass mat, and then boom. I mean, that's it. It's like this is a finished card. I just love the background. I think it's so pretty. Love it, love it, love it. So this is some Fiesta blue from Cutterpillar. And here I am. I'm going to see if I can create an easy blended background here without any special, you know, technique or whatever. Here's where I didn't clean my brush. Do you see how there's some green showing up there? So scribbling off your brush on some scratch paper is not going to clean your brush. I really feel like you need to run it under some water, even add a little bit of soap, and get that ink out before you move on. But I didn't mind. This is going to be kind of like a grungy, distressed looking background. I'm able to, you know, fix it by adding the water and adding some different colors. But, you know, when I first put it down, the intent was to get that Fiesta blue, which is up there in that left-hand corner, that Fiesta blue in the left-hand corner, and I got some of that green from the Oxides because I was using the same blending tool. You can also take one of the little smaller images that come in the set and create little polka dots. This is great also for floral centers, right? And if you don't like it, you can go in and just fiddle around. Here I am going, okay, my cards panel now looks like it has the chicken pox. So what can I do about that? So I'm just playing around. But I just wanted to show you there are some different things that you can get, you know, from this, not necessarily this beautiful background that I've created that has the chicken pox or measles or whatever. But anyway, so you can use different inks, you can use water, you cannot use water. There's a lot of videos out there of people just doing some great ink blending. So you can definitely search that on YouTube, but I wanted to show a different way of using them that I hadn't seen, which is just simply a little bit of water, right? Here I am trying to remove the chicken pox from my card panel. But I'm keeping this background because I can die cut parts of it. I'll use it. You know, I'm not one for throwing things away. It's got to be pretty ugly or not able to be saved or cut apart for me to throw it in the trash can. But anyway, this is watercolor cardstock, by the way, because I'm piling on a bunch of water. But anyway, here I am using that little tiny image to create little streaks, if you will. Basically, I'm almost removing the ink with that little one. So anyway, fun things that you can do. Now, this is a way that you can use some of the thinner brushes in the set. This is a regular ink blended background, lots of ink, very splotchy, but here's how we're going to fix this, right? This is no water. Now we're into the part of the video where we're just doing straight up ink blending without the addition of water. I'm using that long, narrow one that comes in the set, and I'm using some Cutterpillar ink, and I'm just going up against this is like a cloud die. I'll be sure to link, not die, this is clearly not a die. This is a stencil, Laurel, a stencil. So here I am just kind of blending it out. And when you mix pink and blue together, you get purple. So this is going to be really pretty in the long run here. So I slowed it down a little bit. You can see I'm just hugging up against the edge of that stencil. I'm constantly adding ink to my brush because I want it to be nice and intense. It's going to give a very beautiful cloud-like look, if you will. So when I remove it, just look how pretty that is, right? This is some Fiesta blue. I'm going to use one of the bigger backgrounds here and do the same thing. I'm able to get more down, obviously, because the brush is a lot bigger. It's also picking up some of that purple from that wilted violet I used at the beginning of the video. So that's why you're seeing some of that purple here. That's why you got to clean your brush if you want the colors true. But I loved that. I loved that background so much. With the different, with whatever leftover ink was in my brush paired with Fiesta blue. It's a custom color I'll never be able to recreate again. But it is what it is, right? So this stencil, actually, every edge is different. So I really like that as well. So here I am again, just showing you how fun it is to create backgrounds. This background, initially, I remember making this background. This is when I didn't know how to use these brushes. So you can see how splotchy and bleh that background is. But once I figured out how to use them correctly, holding them down at the base, I really feel is key. I feel like I'm able to get a lot more control, whereas before I was just kind of holding them at the top of the handle and I wasn't getting good pressure. My arm started hurting because I was trying to ink blend. And so if you have brushes like this and they're not working for you, maybe these tips will help you before you just say forget about it, right? Just hold it at the base. With the little ones like this, you know, you can't really hold it at the base because the base is so long and narrow. But just, I think the further down you hold it, the more coverage you're going to get. And I do like the bristles on these brushes. I think they really give some beautiful blending. Here's a little grassy hilltop I created. This is obviously a card background I'm going to cut apart to create scenes. Or maybe not, I don't know. I'm just simply showing you different ways to use the brushes to create beautiful backgrounds like this. If you don't have stencils like this, you can totally freehand a piece of printer cardstock. Just grab some scissors and create your own stencil, if you will. Totally up to you. But I wanted to show you just, it's really fun, and the different sizes and widths that you get with these brushes are very unique. You're able to get into some really tight spaces. Here's a look at this card kind of finished out here. I just think these brushes are fun. At first, I wasn't a fan. I don't want to say I wasn't a fan. I wasn't sold on it. But I saw so many crafters that I respect using them with success. I knew it had to be operator error. So I did more research. I went on live, YouTube Live. I got some feedback. And now I'm a huge fan. So I'll be sure to link to the brushes that I'm using below for you. They're off of Amazon. They're very, very, very inexpensive. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to let me know down in the comments of the video. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.